Hi, this is Judge Jennifer Brunner, and I'm here today with our next episode of Achieving Justice. I'm a candidate for the Ohio Supreme Court, running from the 10th District Court of Appeals. I've been serving there about 5 years, and I am so pleased today to have with me who is running for Stark County Probate Judge. And for those of you who don't know where Stark County is, it's in the northeast part of Ohio, and the county seat is Canton, Ohio. Welcome, Angela. I'm so glad to have you here.
Hi, Judge. I'm really glad to be here.
Me too. So Angela and I had a chance to talk a little bit, but why don't you tell folks who are going to be watching this video about yourself a little bit and what motivated you to run for probate judge in Stark County?
Well, my name is Angela Alexander, and I've been a lawyer for 20 years. And prior to my current position as a Summit County prosecutor, I was in private practice. And during my private practice, I had an opportunity to handle a lot of different types of cases, civil cases, probate matters, domestic relations matters, juvenile court matters. So I have that breadth of experience in private practice. I was a public defender for a good period of time, but for the past 15 years, I've spent my time handling domestic violence felony cases and prosecuting them, trying to make sure that our community is safe.
You seem to have a real passion about domestic violence, and I know that's an issue that affects seniors who oftentimes are dealing with the probate court, whether it's getting their will filed or whether it's dealing with guardianship issues. Can you kind of connect those two for us?
Sure. Well, handling domestic violence cases as a prosecutor, you deal with a lot of families who are in crisis, who are dealing with very difficult situations. And that relates to probate court in the sense that probate court touches us all. So you may have someone who has had a loved one pass away and the families are fighting over money. And that's a family in crisis. And you have to approach those cases with compassion and a specific temperament. And just similar to how you would approach a domestic violence victim and an offender, how you look at those cases with a sense of compassion, but also you have to follow the law and make sure that people are safe. Another issue is elder abuse, and that's something that's near and dear to my heart. I've spent time handling cases where seniors have been abused by friends or family or people in positions of power, and I believe that on the bench as a probate judge, I would be able to continue protecting some of our most vulnerable seniors in our community. So that is really important to me. I've also spent a good portion of my career educating seniors on recognizing the signs of abuse in the home, because that's not something that any of us want to accept, that we could be abused by a loved one. But I think it's very important that we make sure that our seniors are educated in that area as well.
Because I remember when I served as a trial court judge in Common Pleas Court in Franklin County, I took classes and I came to understand that domestic violence is mostly about control, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah. When you have someone who's vulnerable, like a senior who is subject to that control by someone who is abusive, it can be a very overwhelming and difficult situation, and our courts may need to intervene in that situation.
Yeah. So you have an interesting background, because for those people in Stark County, I think they would appreciate the fact that you were born and raised there. Kind of talk about how you made your way from your childhood to being a prosecutor and running for judge.
I was born and raised in Stark County. I graduated from McKinley, and my parents were blue-collar workers here in Canton. My mom worked in downtown Canton, and my dad retired from Timken after 30 years of service. So I am, dedicated to the Stark County community. I graduated from high school as a single mother, and I went to the University of Akron because that was a school that allowed me to commute. So I was still able to live in Stark County, and then raised my son here and commuted to Akron for both college and law school. And during undergrad, I got a passion for criminal justice, social justice, and that's how I ended up going to law school. And I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, and certainly the first person in my family to graduate with an advanced degree. And I believe that our community is in need of change. I believe that our system's in need of change. And when the opportunity came to run for Stark County Probate Court, I absolutely believe this is something that I was meant to do, and that I could bring some much needed change to our court. So that's why I'm here running for judge in this strange time.
Yes, yes. I took a look at the court's website, and I saw a program I had not seen before, and it was called Court Angels. Can you explain to folks what that's all about?
Sure. That is a program that is designed to assist and safeguard our most vulnerable, our seniors. And that program is in need of an enhancement in the recruiting process. I believe that it's a great program and it's a great idea, but we need a consistent training for our volunteers who are working in that program, and that the training that they're receiving is training that is the best practices for that type of volunteer work. And they are also, I believe they should be given the support and resources that they need to do that volunteer work effectively. I have been managing a $750,000 grant fund for domestic violence in my role as a prosecutor. And I believe that if we can get some additional grant funding for that Court Angel program, that we could then make it more robust, and it's not going to cost our taxpayers any additional dollars because it will be grant funded, and be able to expand it and make it more better for our community.
So that people might not understand, a guardianship can be of the person or of the estate or both, but the court supervises those guardians, correct? And then the court angels are sort of like checkers about did I say that right?
They're volunteers.
Yes. And so essentially you've got court appointed guardians who do get paid for what they do, right?
Yes.
And some are attorneys, some are relatives, and some may not be paid. So the court angels then are sort of a citizen oversight group then that periodically visits with individual seniors and then reports back to the court. Is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay. So so you're saying not enough people, not enough training, and then of course in COVID-19 that's presented a whole new dimension of challenges, correct?
Right. And I believe that it's important, especially in this type of court, for your staff and your attorneys who work for the court to be consistent, and so that people who are coming in know what to expect, and have a consistent face, especially with seniors who may be experiencing dementia or mental illness. It's always better to have that consistent staff and consistent presence when people are coming into the court. And I believe that the Court Angel program is another piece of that, making sure that we have that consistent, well-trained staff who will be assisting in these cases.
So has there ever been grant funding for the Court Angels program?
There has, and that is something that needs to be reevaluated, the way that the grant funding is handled and implemented at the court.
And you said your background is really $750,000 that you're currently managing right now for domestic violence for Stark County, right?
For Summit, yes.
Summit County.
Right.
Yeah, because from my experience with grant funding, there's a reporting process, there's an evaluation process, so that the grantors can learn that their money's been well spent and can hopefully favorably consider renewing that grant for the future.
That's correct.
Yeah. So,
And, and what would be really important for that program in particular would be to make sure that you are innovating and continuing to be on you know, the cusp of all the new procedures and policies that come into place, and making sure that you have a evaluation tool in place to evaluate how is this program having a positive impact in the lives of the people that we serve, or is it not having a positive impact and maybe it needs revamped. But you have to have that open mind as the judge to be willing to make some changes if they're needed.
Sure. So you have, from reading your background, you have experience implementing the first specialized docket for domestic violence in the state, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about that process.
Well, we went years of, I went years of handling domestic violence felonies where the only option we had was basic probation, where the supervision was not sufficient for a violent offender, or prison. And prison in some instances is necessary, but there are some situations where a person might fall in the middle and they need something that is more strict than standard probation, but not as strict as or difficult as probation or as prison. So what was developed was a intensive probation program where we took these high-risk domestic violence offenders and put them into an intense program, a probation program, where I, as the prosecutor, would monitor them, their probation officer would monitor them, and they would come to court once a week and report to the judge and report to all of us. And we were able to monitor their progress. So as they were going through their anger management batterers intervention class, we were able to know, is this person actively engaging in treatment? Is this person drinking again? Is this person using drugs? And really nip it in the bud right away so that the problem does not get out of control. And we had a really great success rate, and we were able to divert 100 men, and at that time when it began, it was men, 100 men who would have went to prison and cost all of us all this money to incarcerate them and have them away from their family, and take them and rehabilitate them through this program. And it's really, I'm very proud to be part of such an important program.
That's fantastic. My experience, having started the drug court, the felony drug court in Franklin County, there is no substitute for the personal time and mentorship and attention in helping people sort of cross that bridge from offending to changing their lives.
Yes.
Yes.
And being there to see it, a few of the offenders that I had in the program, I had before, and just to see when someone makes that change and realizes that this is something that I'm going to spend my life in prison if I don't make the changes within myself, and then see how it trickles down to the children and the victims, and when they succeed. It's great to see that success, and I believe that that's an aspect of prosecution, showing compassion towards offenders that not everyone knows. Everyone sees a prosecutor as a hard-nosed prosecutor who sends everyone to prison, but this was an opportunity to really help people, offenders, in a way that I had never had before.
And so it seems like with some of your community activities, you've found other ways to sort of find that similar experience, whether it's through your church or through some of the other projects that you've done. Maybe you can talk about some of that.
I am a member of Faith Family Church in Canton, and one of the aspects, I love my church, but one of the aspects that I really appreciate is the ability they have to go into the prisons and minister to the inmates. It's very difficult having a loved one in prison, and I know that the families and it's difficult on the offender as well. So what Faith Family does is they go and actually have, well, prior to COVID, would go in and actually have church service like what we experience in the sanctuary in the prison. And every Sunday, Pastor Mike says, we want to welcome all of our prison campuses who are watching so that they feel like we're family to them as well. And then he invites them to attend the church when they're released. And so just being that, positive, encouraging voice to them when they're in their darkest time, I think is just, it's a wonderful thing. And I'm glad to be a part of supporting that.
That's really great. So I'm looking at this, and for a judge, you have to have a balance between compassion and the thinking, rational side to follow the law. And your family has to be extremely proud of you, and your family's now you've got two children, you're married, and I look at from where you came, or from where your parents started, and obviously gave you some kind of a work ethic that really has served you well, but they must be quite proud of you.
Yes. My parents are great support to me.
And so if there was one thing you could say to people about why they should vote for you and why they should take a look at putting somebody new in the probate judge position, and there's only one in Stark County, what would you tell them?
I believe that for Stark County Probate Court, because unlike the felony court in Stark County, probate court touches us all. And I believe you need to have a judge with a specific temperament and that will serve the public well. And I believe that I've had experience being in situations where families are struggling and are in crisis, and I have that temperament to see them through that. I also believe that we need transparency in our court, and it needs to be a more user-friendly court. And that's something that I believe that I possess those skills. I think that we can strengthen our relationship with our agencies and enhance the services that are provided to the people who have to come into probate court. I believe that the Court Angel program can be a robust, great program. And I believe that using those grant funds and the experience that I have managing grants would help accomplish that to really make a difference in Stark County. And that's my goal. My goal is to innovate the court and make the court somewhere that people are not afraid to come into probate court, because you hear that all the time. You want to avoid probate court. I would want to make it more of a safe space, an open space for people to come in and get their matters handled in an effective and meaningful way.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, this is Angela Walls-Alexander. She is running for Stark County Probate Court Judge, and there's just one in Stark County in Canton, Ohio. I so enjoyed talking with you today, and I wish you the very best in the campaign, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see each other face to face. But in the meantime, thank heavens for the technology that lets us come together and tell people a little bit about something so important in Stark County. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Judge.